Yay, we're live. God, my voice still sounds awful. Jesus. Just got over COVID, so I still, you know. Someday you will ache like I ache. Someday you will ache like I ache. Boom, 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 boom. Someday you will ache like I ache. Let me pull up the chat. Chat, 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 chat. Someday you will ache like I ache. Where's my coffee? There we go. If you haven't watched it already, please go back and watch my video about Mercury retrograde, because that's about to happen in just a few days, and it's quite important. I mean, it happens all the fucking time, doesn't it? Mercury goes retrograde every 88 days. Hello, Helen. Thank you. I am feeling a lot better. I am, although it's laundry day. So I'm trying to squeeze everything in. But I do feel a lot better. It's just my voice still sucks, and I'm coughing a lot. Excuse me. But I'm better than I was doing the other day when I went live. So yeah, please. Oh, excuse me. Make sure to like the stream. Like the stream. I was just mentioning Mercury retrograde, which happens on August 4th. So it's pretty exciting in a way. I mean, it's not. It's a pain in the butt, especially when you have election stuff going on and Mercury goes retrograde. Oops, I got to turn the lights on so I don't look like I look yet less yucky. But when you're having major election shit and Mercury's retrograde, it's not very good. Because there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, misleading stuff. People are so focused on polls. I found an inhaler worked really well for me when I had COVID. I actually do have an albuterol inhaler. I just need to get a new one and probably need to start using it more often. So, I am doll parts, bad skin, doll heart. It stands for knife for the rest of my life. Yeah, they really want you. They really want you. They really do. You put your birth information in the chat if you want. I'm going to keep talking about this shit because it's wild. So we can expect some wacky misinformation and delays in communication. Hi, Bexy baby. How are you? How are you, sweetheart? I'm glad you came. And I'm always glad you came. Oh, that's the song to Cheers, where everybody knows your name. I mean, here we're getting together enough to where we're starting to know each other's names. And I didn't do any videos or live streams for like over a week because, I was sick. I didn't know I did have COVID. At first, for the first day or so, I mean, I felt like shit. It kind of hit me on last Monday. And I didn't get better really until this Monday. I mean, I wasn't contagious, but I still felt like shit. So anyway, the thing about Mercury retrograde too, it's going back into Leo. So when a planet backtracks into the previous sign, it's like we have unfinished business with the whole sign house that sign is in, right? So what whole sign house is Leo for you? And that'll give you a hint as to what you're going back and revisiting. Like for me, it's the 7th house, right? Which is like booty calls. I mean, it doesn't have to be booty calls. It's like, what the hell? Focus. focus. It has more to do with people who were exes or past lovers contacting you, you know. So, who's here? It's good, but it's a stupid busy day. Well, I'm sorry. I have a stupid busy day too, you know. Although I get to sort of dictate how it's going to go, but there's still a whole lot to do. And my daughter starts school soon, in like 2 weeks. I don't like this, Sam I am. I don't want to get up early again, you know. Anyway, and then the same day Mercury goes retrograde, Venus goes into Virgo. And I'm sure most of you know that Venus falls in Virgo because she's exalted in Pisces, isn't she? And the sign opposite exaltation is always called fall, right? And I always make a joke about Virgo Venus being subby bitches, you know. And I love subby bitches. I love me some subby bitches. With the right person, I'm a subby bitch too, you know. I just prefer to be in control and like doing the things. Because then, you know, I'm in charge. But it's really important because the house that Venus is going in for you, the whole sign house, represents an area of life where you're sort of reconciling things. Or you're getting more social grace or tact. Despite Venus not being happy in Virgo, you know. Like, even though she's not happy in Virgo, she's still a benefic planet and she brings a good influence to whatever house, right, she's entering for you. Just like Mars can still have a difficult effect when he's entering the sign that he rules, but he still brings conflict into the house or area of life indicated by the house that he's in. For example, look at where you have Gemini right now, and that'll indicate sort of where conflicts, excuse me, where conflicts are erupting in your life. You know, for me, it's in my 5th house, like of children and pleasure, you know, so I'm all amped up about, you know, like, I'm already sort of a thirsty bitch, but I've been sort of extra thirsty lately where it's like, I mean, anyway, I don't have to go into detail. Bexy knows what I'm talking about, don't you? So, but anyway, and then the 5th house is also children. So, there could be difficulties with children, or arguments with children, or children sort of argue with you or make things more difficult, right? Not like it's their fault, it's just sort of, it's the clock of the universe and existence. Cycles come and go, right? And the thing that people always piss me off about is the whole, especially modern astrologers, and you can't totally blame them because Ptolemy did this shit, right, in the 1st or 2nd century, whatever it was. But this idea that planets and stars cause shit to happen for you. They don't. There's no evidence that they are. Even the fucking moon, people are like, well, the moon affects the tides, and our bodies are 70% water, so the moon affects our consciousness. And haven't you ever heard about emergency rooms getting more emergencies when it's a full moon? You know, a full moon? Hey, Shani, how are you? No, there's no evidence that there are more emergencies or accidents under full moons. It's a totally anecdotal thing that got made up by people. You know, the moon isn't affecting your body directly any more than the tides are, right? It's affecting your body if you're a surfer, right? I used to surf. We used to have the little tide booklets, like when high and low tide are for when the best waves, you know. So, like, in that way, it's important. But planets are not exerting a direct energetic influence on us at all. And when people say energy, they don't even know what the fuck they mean, yo. Like, what do you mean when you say energy? The scientific definition of energy is the capacity to do work. what fucking work you're doing? You're not doing shit. The whole idea is that planets are passively, right, just injecting you with their hot beef quality of energy, you know? They're giving you the hot beef injection. Like Jupiter's like, oh, let me give you a taste of Jupiter. How about a little penetration from Mars? Yeah, that sounds yummy. But no, there aren't. Even Dane Rudyard, the godfather of modern astrology, right? Who gave most of the modern astrologers, right, their sort of background. Because he was the one that wrote the fucking books, right? Astrology of Personality. That was a big game changer because it introduced the psychological component in astrology, right? Even he, Dane Rudyard, said, I don't care if the planets do exert forces or energies. It doesn't make a difference. Astrology is still a correlative art. And what do I mean by correlative? I mean the planets don't cause shit, right? Jupiter protects us from asteroids, from the Kuiper Belt and shit like that, right? Or I forget which it is. Maybe it's the Oort cloud, I don't know. But Jupiter deflects asteroids, so that's a real physical thing by gravity, right? But there's no indication that Jupiter's doing anything to your psychology. In fact, there's no evidence that Jupiter's anything but a giant ball of fucking gas, right? But, just like the Buddhists tell us, everything is interdependent, right? And the implication of interdependence, wait, hold on, someone says, I think of the planets more like the hands on a clock. Sure, yeah, just like the hands. You're exactly right. That's a very good analogy, actually. It's a very good analogy. Thank you for bringing that up, Muffin of Doom. You're such a lovely muffin. And I love that your profile picture's Firuza Balk, who I was in love with since I was a child. Does anyone want a reading? Otherwise, I'll just keep talking. And I'll clip this for videos for later. Excuse me. But you're exactly right. It's like the hands on a clock. Just like the hands don't make the time, right? The fact that, right, you don't, if you don't set your clock, it's not going to change the time of day. You know, if it's noon and the sun is high in the sky, well, let me just change the time on here. Like, it's not going to suddenly become night, right? The sun isn't following the hands on the clock. It's the same with astrology. You know, it's the same with astrology. It's not, the planets aren't causing anything, but they are announcing it. Just like the hands on the clock announce noontime, right? Or announce when my cats need to be fed. It's not making it happen, right? The clock doesn't make it noon. It doesn't put the sun high in the sky. And the planets are the same thing analogically. That's such a great analogy, Muffin of Doom. I like that. I think that's very good. Yeah, I like that. So anyway, it's important to bear that in mind when we talk about these big transits, right? Now, the reason I was going off on interdependence is because when you go through the logical implications of that, right? If everything is interdependent, then nothing is independent, right? And nothing is changeless. And what's the definition of essence? Inherent qualities, or soul, right? Or spirit. These things are the changeless and essential, right? And independent qualities of something. But we just realized, right, that nothing is independent and nothing is changeless. So therefore, essence or soul isn't a thing, especially in the Buddhist context. It's a principle called anatta, right, which means no soul or no self. But when you get to that, if nothing has an inherent existence, or if everything is empty of inherent meaning or qualities, that means we project meaning on things, right? So the planets are just balls of gas and ice and rock and whatever else. But we give them meaning, right? Venus isn't really doing anything to me, but I pray to Mama Venus every day. right? I treat her like a deity, even though I ultimately don't even believe in deities. But for the context of my life, it's a very helpful psychological thing. And I do feel like I get real results from it, you know? And both things can be equally true in our minds, right? Based on context. Yes? So I tell people I don't believe anything, but within the context of astrology in my daily life, I'm still going to use these, right? Use these planets and deities to sort of align my own behavior and actions with what we could call the greater ritual in the heavens. So, I know I can be a real bitch about this stuff, but it is important. It really is. And yes, you too, Kat, you're important too. My little familiars. And I don't mean to be a bitch about it. It's just that I did the mystical nonsense for 29 years. And it's great. You can learn a lot by doing it. I don't fault people for joining groups or doing occult practices or witchcraft. It's just I don't believe in it anymore. And I understand why it's important for people because it's empowering. A lot of us have had our power taken away. We've been treated like shit. We've been otherized, right? I'm a trans woman. My power is taken away all the time, right? And women in general. Like you see people who get into this stuff, a lot of it is people who've had their power taken away. The problem is when people take magic and spells and stuff way too seriously, and neglecting effort and discipline. Now, I know people can make ritual into discipline, of course. Thank you, Helen. Oh, you put your stuff in there. We'll look at your chart. And we will look at yours too, Shani. Excuse me. But just let me finish this thought. I don't fault people for using magic and witchcraft and all that sort of stuff. It just seems like masturbation to me, because your attention is going out. See, people use words like manifesting, manifesting. And what manifesting just means doing shit. Like fucking handle life. That's manifesting. Like manifest the fucking rent. How about that shit? I know people say, oh, I manifested my partner or my boyfriend. But just like Muffin of Doom says, since I started studying astrology, I'm convinced a lot of it is fated. So there's not a lot we can change. Now, yes, I think that is borne out. And I can't stand when people try to use science or quantum physics to justify their religious or philosophical beliefs. But I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day, and he's more of an entertainer now, but he had other astrophysicists on his podcast. And they were basically saying life, right? Our experience of life is more or less deterministic and fated, as astrology tells us. And as ancient astrologers tell us. So regardless of casting a spell, whatever happened was going to happen anyway. And you casting the spell was probably going to happen anyway, right? But given the interdependent nature of existence, these things were mutually interconnected. One wasn't going to happen necessarily without the other, right? Like love and marriage, right? Can't have one without the other, right? You can't have one without the other. So anyway, I know I seem antagonistic to magic and New Age stuff, and I kind of am. But I understand why people do it, and I used to do it too. I'm just way more interested now in consciousness. And to me, all the magical stuff is taking our attention and our awareness off of consciousness and out into, phenomenal things. It's just fine. To a certain extent, but then it distracts us from the real awareness that we have potential to achieve, which is about whence the sense of I or consciousness or individuality arises, you see. And that's the real important thing. Who the fuck are you? What are you? Do you remember being a child and just completely mystified and entranced by the fact that you exist, right? I got into witchcraft as a young kid, you know. Muffin of Doom says, what do you think of the astrological talismans, like the Picatrix stuff? I'm wearing one right now. This is a Venus talisman that I made, right? Just like I said, I don't believe in God. Ultimately, in the greater context, I still treat this as real, right? And you can say that's belief or whatever, but in the context, right, of my practice, like, this is real in this context. Just like me praying to Venus, I get reality out of that. And I'm not here to denigrate anyone's practices, even though I do talk shit. I do talk shit. But as I said, contradictory things can be equally true in different contexts. So yes, I do have the Picatrix. I do use the Picatrix. I do use the Picatrix, yes. And this version, right, is translated and edited by Christopher Warnock. Well, John Michael Greer and Christopher Warnock. And Christopher Warnock is a Zen Buddhist. And the spells and the talismans we make, and he makes talismans. He sells wonderful talismans. I've bought talismans off astrological magicians. You might know, what's his name? Brandon Ballantyne from Form and Fortune. He's another good astrologer who I disagree with on a lot of philosophical stuff because, you know, he's more mystical, but he makes talismans and I really stand by his work. And I believe that his talismans do work, right? Even though I don't believe in things, yeah? So yes, I say everyone should read the Picatrix. But just like Christopher Warnock says, it wasn't the astrological magic necessarily that caused it, but rather announced it, right? The fact that I made this Venus talisman sort of announced the fact that I was becoming a slut, right? And I was getting way more lucky with love. This Venus talisman did, right, correlate, and I say correlate, not cause, did correlate with me getting a lot more fucking lucky, you know? Like, from my transition, I took 2 years off of dating, right? That means I didn't have sex with other people for 2 years. It's the longest I've ever gone, you know, since I lost my virginity, at least, right, in high school. But I made this talisman. And then I started getting a lot of attention. So Helen Strong says, basically, we're on our path. Sometimes we might wander off it, but we always find the same route. Well, I don't know that that's true because my route has changed. Now, I used to say that all roads lead to Rome, right? And if you take any path and are sincere about what's happening in terms of your own consciousness, if you watch, if you learn to observe your own behavior and your own psychology, like Plato said, right? Plato said to become a spectator of time is a cure for meanness of soul, right? What's a spectator do? It observes, right? They observe rather than getting sucked into the panoply of life, right? So learning to become an observer, just like, I almost said like a scientist, but you're not making any, the goal is to not make any judgments at some point, even though we do, and it's inevitable. But to learn to watch ourselves like we would an interesting stranger. So anyway, to answer your question, though, yeah, try astrological magic. Learn about the Picatrix, right? It's been done for a long time. A lot of this came from Arab astrologers, medieval astrologers. Some of it came from, more ancient sources, too. So it's very interesting. And like I said, in the right context, I do believe in it. Even though I say I don't believe in things. But that's because contradictory things can be equally true in different contexts, right? Everything can ultimately be empty of inherent existence and still, right, have relevance or meaning in different contexts. So, yeah, I guess you could say we might wander off or whatever. I have the same edition waiting for a nice election. The sky has been mean. Yeah, I mean, and elections. That's another thing. Elections are fate, aren't they? So with that, think of the elections in the context of this, right? And that brings you to a philosophical conundrum. Did your spell really do anything? Or was it more of an affirmation, right? Just like Mars doesn't make you a fucking asshole, just announces it, right? Like me, I'm a cunt. I'm a real bad bitch because I got Mars conjunct my sun, but Mars conjunct my sun didn't cause anything. You see? Anyway, this is a whole philosophical problem behind astrology. Yeah? But we'll get into it. We're going to look at your charts now. Helen Strong, thank you for donating £5. You know, £5. I'm hoping to lose £5. You know what I'm saying? Alyssa Ann. Hi, Alyssa. How are you, baby? Hi, I'm at work. I'm trying to listen while I'm not busy. Well, thank you. Thank you for staying with us for a bit. I'm going to look at Helen's chart, and then I'm going to get to Shani. Bexy, do you ever want your chart read on here? Your palm read? You remember in like Bugs Bunny, they used to like paint your palm red, you know, like, as a joke? I don't know if you remember that. But anyway, what I was talking about was causality and astrology, you know, and Sherry Berry, did you say that you were born in San Diego? I was stationed at Point Loma. From 1984 to 1988. I was born in La Jolla, yeah, 1983. La Jolla, California. La Jolla. Right? I was born in such a rich little place. I really was. You know? I really was. Want to take a look at my chart again? Yeah, put your information in there. We're going to pull up Helen Strong really quick. Not Helen Weak, but Helen Strong. Bexy says, I certainly don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. That was Tool. I used to love Tool. Maynard James Keenan, though, was an asshole. You see, all these guys became like right-wing assholes. I'm in such a bad mood this morning because I was watching the news and I was getting so upset at people in the news. Well, people that I was watching. I was getting very upset. Getting very upset. I'm a very antagonistic person. So here, Helen Sturg, I'm sorry, not Strong. Helen Sturg. Helen Sturg. Let me move this shit out the way. Helen Sturg. From Toronto. From Toronto. Helen Sturg. Sorry, my darling. I'm so sorry. I have dyslexia and I just didn't see it. Every time I leave one of your videos, you leave a song stuck in my head. I know, I was singing Hole when everyone first got here, or when I first got here. I am doll eyes, doll mouth, doll legs. I am doll arms, big veins, doll bait. Yeah, they really want you. They really want you. They really do. Yeah, they really want you. They really want you. Well, I do too. I want to be the girl with the most cake. I love her so much it just turns to hate. No, I don't hate. I don't hate any of my ex-partners. None of my ex-partners were ever replaceable. They were just forgettable. That's mean, I'm sorry. That's mean. I had a partner once say to me, like, I just want to know that I'm not replaceable. And I'm like, you're not. You're not, but you might be forgettable. Anyway, that's mean. It's not very nice. Helen Sturg. We've got a Libra rising. My boyfriend and I would leave work and go to La Jolla and the surrounding area with someone. Yeah, and then remember Black's Beach? Because I went to college at UCSD, University of California, San Diego. And I worked there for 20 years, you know. It was a good place to work, you know. But there was Black's Beach, you know, and all that stuff. Used to make out with your boyfriend at the Presidio. The Cove. Yeah, the La Jolla Cove. I used to be a junior lifeguard and volunteer with the beach lifeguards, and we would do like swimming competitions at the Cove. I was a surfer girl. I was a surfer girl. Anyway, Helen Sturg. I hope you're still here, baby. Because you're a Libra rising. A Libra rising. Hi, cat. Hi, cat. Anana, hello. I hope I said your name correctly, sweetheart. So, Helen Sturg, you're a Libra rising, which means your ruling planet is Venus in Capricorn here in the 4th house. I love Capricorn Venuses. I call them mommy. You know, I have a mommy thing. Yeah. Mommy. Mommy, mommy. It's opposite my Cancer Venus, you know. So when I see Capricorn Venus, I think of people who might be a little socially awkward or a little introverted sometimes. But, you know, they can also be very practical people, you know, very practical people. And in the 4th house, it gives a love of history, you know. It gives a love of history, family history. You see people who are attracted to their ancestors and all that kind of shit, or their genealogy or their, you know, culture of origin. Like for me, I have a 4th house Mercury, and I grew up obsessed with Ireland and Irish culture, you know. Oh, Alyssa, you have a Capricorn Venus, don't you? Isn't that true? Would I call you mommy also? Anyway. You see, it confers some of those wonderful things. Venus also rules what? Your 8th house. And is in your 4th. So I wonder if your father died early on, or at least before your 30th birthday, before, you know, your Saturn return was over. Because we do see the 8th house ruler in the 4th house. I have that too. And sometimes it does indicate your father dying early on. Could be a grandparent too. But either way, it would have been something significant for you. Alyssa says Capricorn rising. Oh, my daughter's a Capricorn rising. Helen Sturg says, I studied archaeology at university. Good. I'm a fangirl for archaeology. Please, everyone, like the stream and subscribe to my channel. I do prioritize donations and tips. You can tip me through super thanks below, right? Or you can use my PayPal. It's in the description, you know. So anyway, oh, nope, alive and kicking. That's good. That's very good. Excuse me. I wonder if there's been any generational wealth involved. Well, also, your 4th house is ruled by Saturn, right? Which is in your 9th house in Gemini in retrograde. I have Saturn in the 9th house too. It tends to make us more scientific, more skeptical. Usually we were raised religious as kids and we learned to reject religion early on. I was raised very Catholic, right? I have Saturn in the 9th house. And I rejected all the religion by the time I was 12 years old, you know, because I started actually trying to understand the Gospels. Both grandfathers died when I was 8. I mean, that could be the 8th house ruler in the 4th house too, because the 4th house is also grandfathers. So that makes sense. And I wonder if that had a big and a significant effect on you and your consciousness, you know. Now you have Uranus conjunct your ascendant, so you tend to, excuse me, you tend to stand out probably without even trying. Fuck, I hate that dryer noise. Ugh. So you probably, even as a kid, if you wanted to fit in, you couldn't. You also have the Aquarius moon thing, you know, and the moon is trine your Uranus too. Yes, Greek Orthodox. Yeah, definitely. That's one of those religions that gets hammered into you, doesn't it? I had a Greek Orthodox friend growing up. But you see, even though a lot of us become atheists and non-believers, you know, Saturn in the 9th house, we still are on a quest for meaning the rest of our lives, aren't we? We still have this innate drive to understand our own existence. To me, that's the essence of Saturn in the 9th house. Yes, we don't believe in things, or yes, we may reject religion or faith or spirituality because we see it as limiting. Yes, and it is. But eventually we have to get over that and mature into another level, because I was talking to one of my friends, Caleb, last night, and I was like, am I coming off way too militant with my my anti-spirituality. And he said, yeah, just remember, like V for Vendetta, God is in the rain. And that little comment he made to me really made a big significant impression on me. God is in the rain. Everything is alive, right? And that's something that interdependence also implies. That if one thing is alive, then everything is alive. Because everything is mutually interdependent. Everything depends on everything else for its existence. Alyssa Ann says, I love your hair, by the way. Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah. Thank you. Loki Motive. Well, hello, Glamour Puss. Yes, I am a Glamour Puss, aren't I? Can you read synastry chart? Yes, I'll get to synastry charts. Let me finish up with Helen really quick. Helen, you look like a Helen. It's from Tommy Boy. Excuse me. But the moon rules your 10th house, and you have your 10th house ruler in the 5th house, along with your north node. I have my 10th house ruler in the 5th house. We tend to be very sort of, at last I caught a lie. Thank you. I'm open-minded to a lot of ideas. Just find the church too stifling. Well, yeah, of course. Of course. But your moon is an Aquarius too, which makes you like Jane Goodall. Remember Jane Goodall, for those people who are old enough? Like, she was observing the apes or the gorillas or the chimpanzees, whatever it was. And she was kind of like, I'm sort of studying their habits. That's what Aquarius moon is like too. It's sort of removed from every situation it's in. Now, your north node being in the 5th house like me, we grow down as we grow up. Like, we get more childlike. We get more interested in fun and sexuality. Usually when we've grown up, we've been very serious children, especially before our 38th birthday or whatever. We get to be very serious children. We're very idealistic about a cause. I was a political activist and joined like political and spiritual groups when I was younger. Now I'm all about me, And that's what happens as we get older. We're more interested in our own pleasure and our own fun, which is good. Which is good. We just might be seen as selfish by other people. And you might be a pretty sexual person. Or promiscuous, or maybe a bit of an exhibitionist. When the 10th house ruler is in the 5th, though, we tend to get recognition or sometimes career influence or money from a creative pursuit. Like, look at me. I have a small business and I make lots of content. It's a creative pursuit, right? And I also would make money from my adult work, right? Which is another 5th house pursuit. Fucking, I hate that sound. I hate that sound. See, I'm always doing laundry. I'm always doing laundry during my live streams. And that stupid dryer tone goes, ah! And I'm like, oh, it's awful. So anyway, before we finish here, you've got Jupiter going through your 9th house, until next June. So this is a time when you're starting to learn new things, to explore new values, new ways of understanding things, new meaning. You could even take a long journey somewhere. You see, Jupiter rules your 6th house and your 3rd house, right? Your 6th house. Oh, look, and you have Mercury stationing retrograde in your chart. A very unhappy Mercury. You probably have ADHD, Probably have a bit of ADHD. But anyway, Jupiter going through your 9th house, ruling these 2 houses, is significant. The 3rd house is media and education. You could be reading new books and learning new things, right? The 6th house is obligations, right? Daily life to a certain extent, but it's injuries, illnesses, and enemies, right? So you could be incorporating some of this stuff into your daily life. So it's quite interesting. But Mars is going through the 9th house right now too. So just be careful about getting in arguments with people, because you might end up cutting people off, right, for contrary views. Anyway, we should move on to the next person. Let's look at Shani. And then after Shani, so Alyssa, if you want to put your stuff in there. And we have Anana, we have Kajal. Okay. Let me see who we got going on here. Thank you, Muffin of Doom. Thank you. Oh, Portugal. Look at you. See, I have an international audience. I love my international people. Now, Muffin, did you put your stuff in the chat? Did you put your stuff in the chat? Oh, yes, you did. Okay. You did. Let me get to Shani really quick because they're a member, and then I got Muffin. And then I got Muffin. And then I got Muffin. Where's Shani? Shani. Donated 15 from PayPal. Thank you so much. I got you, my darling. I got you. Thank you so much. And thank you for telling me because my attention span is so... I know, Shani, I've basically, over all my lives, I've like probably given you a full reading. But there's one thing I wanted to say about Mercury retrograde for you, sweetheart. Because in your case, Mercury rules what? Your 11th house and your 8th house. So this will be an interesting thing for you. Because Mercury is going, right, is in your 11th house right now. Right, which is sort of cool on the one hand, because it's reconnecting with people, especially like-minded people, right? It's networking, getting support from others. But then when Mercury backtracks into Leo on August 14th, this is going to be things that you left undone in your career. Maybe there was a job or project that you didn't finish properly. And all of a sudden, like, something falls apart. And you're like, oh shit, I gotta go back and redo that again. And it would be something at work. Or perhaps you get notified about a job you applied for and no one said anything. That frequently happens, right? When it takes a long time. When it takes a long time to have something like that. When it takes a long time for a potential employer to call you back, right? Like, we'll be considering your application. And they may have had a first hire pick, right? And then that falls through and then it goes back to you. You have an inbox full of people you need to get back to. Yeah, see, I mean, you gotta spend some time on that, right? So anyway, that'll be important for you. And expect messages probably from former employers or former bosses or, you know, a current boss that you haven't spoken to in a long time or from another area. There's different ways this could manifest, right? To use the word manifest. What about womanifest? Why don't things womanifest? You know. See, I'm Mercury retrograde. I'm stupid. But anyway. So, anyway, Shani, there's some interesting stuff going on for you. Now, let's go to Muffin of Doom and then Anana. And then Anana. And then Anana. Anana. Yay. Okay. Who is this? Muffin of Doom. You know, and I try not to be dogmatic, even though I am. Like, I know I'm a bitch about shit, and I get stuck on ideas. And then I'll figure out they're wrong later, and then I'll go through an existential crisis and have to rethink my position on things. And it will undoubtedly happen again. And it should happen with all of us, because if we're not growing and changing, then we're presumably staying the same. And we know nothing stays the same, so we're really going back. You know, we're backtracking. We're trying to make Saturn girl great again. But I'm supposed to get greater as I progress, you know. Portugal. Oh, I'll get to your chart, hopefully. Don't worry. Just make sure you always put in the date, the time, the city. Date, time, city. Date, time, city. And I might need some help with some of the international places. So Muffin of Doom. Muffin of Doom. So we have a Virgo rising, right? Am I right, Muffin of Doom? You are Virgo rising? Because I had 7:40 a.m. Is it 7:40 a.m.? Yup. Anna on YouTube. My real name is Roxana. From here, it's Anna. Oh, okay. Okay, sweetheart. Adapt, adjust, and overcome. Exactly, right? We're not supposed to get fixed and locked into things. The minute that we get attached to our beliefs, we've sort of lost and we've become a crystallized dogmatic fanatic, you know? So anyway, look, we have the sun in Virgo, but what? It's conjunct the ascendant. In fact, you have the sun and Mercury sort of flanking your ascendant degree. When I see the sun conjunct the ascendant, I think of people who have big heads, right? Big heads. And I'm not talking physically necessarily, although it could be. Someone like Bruce Willis with a big head, you know? But I mean people who feel very important. People who feel very important. Like my mother has this. I always talk about that. Sarah Palin has this, the former vice presidential candidate, right? And, you know, you can loom large in your own life. There's definitely a sense of confidence, right? There's definitely a sense of confidence, but usually a sense of self-importance, or like, I am destined for great things. I am destined. This will happen. You know, when we're kids, it's like, you know, I'm going to be a great magician, or I'm going to be a great leader, or I'm going to be a great something. But you do have the capacity for it because, look, Mercury is very happy in Virgo. And Mercury rules your 10th house, right? In fact, Mercury and your ascendant are square your midheaven. The sun is square your midheaven too. That's sort of auspicious in a way, right? Because Mercury is looking at your midheaven degree by a square. You know, so on the one hand, you have Chiron in the 10th house, which often finds difficulty, you know, with its life direction. Like, I don't know what I want to do. What should I do? Right? Or sometimes your parents have a plan for you and you don't fulfill it, and you might feel guilty. But the other side of it is that, you know, you try lots of different things, and you might be a late bloomer where you figure out what you like to do when you're older, and that's cool. Like, I didn't start my business like full time until I was just about 40, you know? Like, I actually started my business when I was 38, right around the time of my nodal return. So you see, your North Node is in the 8th house. So that can be sort of difficult because it's a life learning about loss and forgiveness, right? And not loss necessarily in a negative way, but learning to let go of things we're attached to. That's the nature of death, isn't it? It's letting go, right? So you see, the first part of life is sort of like grasping at things, holding on, desire. And as we get older, it's learning about death. But not just physical death, but psychological change, overcoming fear, and letting go of stuff that holds us back, especially material concerns. You need to have material concerns. You need to pay bills and take care of your kids, right? But learning not to let those things define your life or necessarily motivate your search for meaning, right? Whatever that means to you. You're very intelligent, like you are. See, Mercury rules your 10th house, and then being in Virgo, you just might, you are not, I'm 41. I'm 41 years old, yeah. I've been doing this for like 20 years, or I've been studying astrology for 20 years. Although, like, the past 5 years as I got into ancient astrology really got me much better. You know, you got your moon conjunct Mars, you got a bit of a temper, sweetheart. Your mom probably did too. Saturn in the 4th house, dad was either absent, perhaps abusive, or home was unstable growing up, you know? That's often a thing. Super strict father sometimes, you know? And the 4th house ruler is Jupiter in the 7th house. So dad probably got remarried, you know? Dad probably got remarried or something like that. Or he had a stepmom. That sort of thing. Maybe an evil stepmother. I mean, I'm kidding. You know? It was your mother. Okay, sweetheart. Yeah. You know, well, and Mars conjunct the moon. Your mother died when you were a kid. Oh, I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. See, Mars rules your 8th house and is conjunct your moon. You know? Now, that's an extreme way to read that, of course. But in your case, it was correct. And I'm very sorry, sweetheart. My dad died when I was young, too. Anyway, your seventh house ruler is Jupiter in the seventh house, but retrograde. So I would say that's a good marriage at some point, maybe not till you get older or whatever, because Jupiter's retrograde. But usually that means some sort of successful relationship. Now, Jupiter's opposite your sun. So if you do feel important, you feel extra fucking important. You know, you might get a little pompous about what you believe. You might be a bit of a know-it-all, you know? Excuse me. Anyway, Venus conjunct Pluto is sort of a predatory partner. Get very obsessive about love interests and get very possessive of love interests. You married an American, so you're in the US now. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So anyway, in terms of timing, Saturn's going through your seventh house, right? So this is a time when you and your partner might feel strained relations, and you need to just keep on learning to love each other over and over again. We have to keep falling in love over and over again, don't we? I mean, I'm absolutely here to learn all I can from you. You're brilliant. Oh, thank you. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Thank you. And look, fifth house, Mars and Moon. You're probably very much into sex like I am. You know, I'm an addict. I'm an orgasm addict. You know, Bexy knows what I'm talking about. I'm an orgasm addict. That, it motivates like a good 50% of my life. You know, the other 50% is probably my daughter. No, I'll say 60% is my daughter. And I'll say 35% is orgasms and 5% is astrology. You know, those are my priorities. So anyway, in terms of timing though, Saturn could be straining relations or it could force a greater commitment. Saturn was going through my seventh house when my ex-wife and I moved in together. You know, that was a deepening of a commitment. Meanwhile, you got Jupiter in your 10th house, which is very lovely for career. But Mars is also there too. So you could also quit your job or have conflicts with a boss or an employer in general or with your coworkers. So just be careful of that, but it might lead you to finding a different job or career. But let's move on from Muffin and go to who was it? Who was it? Let me find Anana. Anana. Where's your birth information, Anana? Oh, here we go. Okay. Synastry. Thank you. And yes, please like the stream and subscribe to my channel. Please watch my videos if you can't donate. But I do prioritize donations and memberships. I was going to start doing members only streams, like with astrology lessons, but I haven't been able to do it yet because I was sick. I was sick. Anana. Anana. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry, darling. Okay. 11th October, 1990. Okay. 10/11/90. Oh, wait. That's 80. 1980. Sorry. 1980. 1980. 11:30. I assume that's AM. Bucharest. Romania. See, we got so many different countries up in here. And I love it. I'm an international girl. I'm an international girl. I'm an international girl. And I love my Eastern European friends and my Balkans friends. I love my friends from Eastern Europe and the Balkans. Okay. And then, sorry, my eyes are, I have ADHD like really bad. And I have to like bring my attention back. The 7th of November. Libra and Scorpio. 1625. My dad was military, so I'd be like, Dad, what time is it? Oh, it's 1625. I'm like, what does that mean? But now as an astrologer, you have to know that shit. Excuse me. The fuck? Kalarsi? Colorosi. There we go. Okay, I got it. So really quick synastry, I just want to look at your 7th house ruler quick, because that tells us a little bit about your relationships. Your 7th house ruler is Mercury in the 12th house. So you've probably been attracted to like fixer-upper type people. People who either, could be people who had addiction issues or mental health issues. You know, isolated people, former convicts, you know, fixer-uppers. And it's not necessarily bad. You just have to be careful that you don't get sucked into situations where you're giving all the time, and the other person is taking, right? You have the moon in the 12th house too, along with Mercury. So it tells me that, thank you, Alyssa. Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Alyssa just became a member of the channel, and we're going to do astrology lessons soon now that I'm feeling better. You know, we're going to do a general overview of ancient astrology and then go deeper into things as time goes on. I just have to find the best time to do it with everyone. And then if you can attend those, if you're a member, you'll at least be able to see those streams. Yeah. I just have to figure out how to share my screen with members only streams. So if anyone knows Streamlabs better, just let me know. So anyway, ooh, Pluto conjunct your sun. That's rough. You learn through being hammered, you know. You have a very intense nature, you know. Thank you, Alyssa Ann. Oh, I'm sorry, darling, if I didn't see your super chat. I'm so sorry. Oh, there's a membership button down below, Meg, my dear sweetheart. There's a membership button below. It should be next to the super chats and all that. So if you look by the description and all those things, there should be a couple little, you know. It depends on if you're on your phone or your computer. My mind moves too fast for my mouth, and I have Mercury retrograde too, so I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And look at this, Mars conjunct Uranus. I have opposite, and no one can tell us shit. Because if anyone tries to tell us what to do, we'll do it wrong just to spite them. Like, you can't tell me what to do. We're not very good with authority, you know? But anyway, you have to be careful of your own addiction issues too. And probably your own depression issues. So just be careful of that, because you don't want to be giving yourself to a partner so much. Right? And Scorpio moon, that's rough. You know, you get very suspicious of your partners. And get very jealous and intense, probably. Oops. Now let's look at your partner. Wait. So your partner's a Taurus rising. Their 7th house ruler is Mars. Mars is in the 2nd house and not very, or sorry, the 3rd house and not happy in Cancer and retrograde. So they've had a more difficult relationship past, right? They've had some difficult relationships, and they probably need a partner who shares an intellectual bond with them. You know, the kind of partner who can share ideas and speak with them, you know. Now, you have to watch out because they have a Capricorn moon, right? Capricorn moon is even more difficult than Scorpio moon. And why do I say that? Because it's not that they don't have emotions. They have a very vulnerable, sensitive inner nature, right? The problem is that they're fucking terrified to show it, aren't they? They hate sharing feelings. They hate sharing emotions. Why? Because they could get hurt. And they would rather sit and be a cold stone. Stone cold Steve Austin, right? They'd rather be a fucking stone face, you know, than actually share how they're feeling, because it's terrifying. You're both Virgo Venuses, so you're both subby bitches, you know. Being open about your feelings and stuff, and you know, there's this mutual sense of service probably towards each other. I bet acts of service is one or both of your love languages, either first or second. Right? Venus rules their 1st house and is in the 5th. You know, so I imagine children and sex have been important to them. Having children. But yeah, intellectual connections are very important here, you see. My best friend has her Cap moon in the 12th house. Yeah, that's a rough one. Like, just tell her not to get into drugs or alcohol. Anyway, really quick, we're going to look at the synastry grid, but I can't put it in the in the on the screen without taking a long fucking time. So I'm just going to describe it to you. Alyssa Ann says, I'm definitely a switch in a Virgo Venus. I mean, I'm a Cancer Venus, and I'm a switchy bitch too. But I lean dominant, right? I lean top, I lean dominant. And it takes a very special person to make me submissive. Otherwise, I just tell my submissive partner to bite me and scratch me and leave marks on me. You know, so I'm still in control, but they're giving me the marks, you know? Anyway, so the synastry really quick. Let's find the bad stuff. What's bad in here? I always look at Pluto, I look at Saturn, I look at Mars, and to me, typically that's the bad stuff to get out of the way really quick. So there's a couple bad things, but it's not too bad, right? You got Saturn here, your Saturn, I guess I'll put it on the screen. Or what if I use a different, what if I use this one? I'll use this one, properties. There we go. Here we go. Well, you can kind of see it, right? You can kind of see it. So anyway, I was talking about Saturn square the moon. So for them, it might feel like you're trampling on their emotions, or like they can't express themselves, or they're afraid to express themselves with you, which would make sense with the Capricorn moon. It probably isn't even your fault, or you're not even doing anything consciously to make him feel that way. But just the Capricorn moon thing on its own makes us feel emotionally stifled and like we can't share ourselves, you know? So that it might take extra care, you know, to take him out of his shell. But see, look, this is beautiful. Your Venus trine his moon. So you have that capacity to bring him out a little bit. You see? So it's not all bad like that. There's this also, this ability to relax in each other's company and to feel safe together. That's very important. Yeah, that's very important. Now, what else is bad? Saturn square Mars. That's one of the worst things you can have. Now, with you being the Saturn person and him being the Mars person, he would feel perhaps pushed into a corner over and over and over again, and then he'd explode, right? Maybe you nitpick. Maybe you criticize. I don't know. And it's probably nothing you do consciously. It's just the way he probably perceives it. But see, these things take communication to reconcile, right? It takes communication and speaking to reconcile that stuff. So very important. Now, those are the two, you know, relatively bad things I see. Also with Saturn, Saturn is conjunct where is it? Saturn is conjunct Venus, his Venus. That's good for a marriage, right? A long-term partnership. That's very good, right? Sun conjunct the moon. His sun, you know, you feeling secure and safe in his company, right? His Venus conjunct your Jupiter. That's another. That's like cheerleaders. That's very exuberant love. That's public displays of affection, you know. That's lovely. And then the biggest lovely thing here is your Venus trine his ascendant. That's like love at first sight, you see. That's one of the best aspects in synastry. To me, the best aspect in synastry is Venus conjunct the ascendant. Because that's like, you know, love at first sight kind of thing. It's very, very important. Very, very important. So let's move on to the next person because we have so many people to get through and I don't want to miss anyone. So we got Helen, we got Muffin of Doom, and we got Anana, and we got Shani, Kajal. So we got Alyssa next, and then Kajal. Alyssa, did you put your information? I'm sorry. Where's your information, Alyssa? Where's Alyssa? Oh, here we go. Okay. August 5th. Thank you, Alyssa. I'm sorry. I have really bad ADHD. I really do. I see a couple different therapists. I'm on medication. Well, that's for bipolar disorder. There we go. Turn that off. Turn that off. So, Alyssa. Ohio. I heard they hate JD Vance there. JD Vance. I'm having so much fun with JD Vance. I hope they don't get rid of him. Please keep JD Vance on the Trump ticket because he is pure fucking comedy gold. I swear to God. Like the fucking dolphin memes and the couch memes. I've been loving those so much. And if you look at his fucking chart, yo, he had the Mars Uranus conjunct his midheaven, in his 10th house. So, and that's literally the day, like when the conjunction perfected, that the couch fucker meme came out. Now we know it's not true. Like he didn't fuck a couch. And even if he did, who cares? It's just hilarious. Highland County. Thank you so much for telling me it's Highland County. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You knew that was going to be a thing. Alyssa, you are so sweet. Anyway, I just love the JD Vance memes. I'm not far from where he grew up. They're hilarious. Yeah. Thank you, sweetheart. That's beautiful for you guys. Anyway, so Alyssa, here we go. Alyssa, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Alyssa. OMG, I got a good one I'll have to send you. Thanks, Bexy baby. Thanks, Bexy baby. Really quickly, I just have to look at one thing while we're talking about this. Where's Bexy's birth chart? Where's Bexy's birth chart? See, Bexy's Venus is sextile my ascendant. You see? That's one of those love at first sight kind of deals. Bexy's so sweet. She's so amazing. Yes. I'm going to blow her up on this shit. I'm blowing Bexy up. Like, yo, what's up with Bexy? She's the main lady. Anyway, we're both relationship anarchists. There's no main person. I just really like her, that's all. I love her. Anyway, you see the big thing about this? Capricorn rising, but your North Node is in the first house. You see? Your 7th house ruler is the moon in the 6th house. So that tells me you've had some very difficult relationships. You see? Some very difficult relationships. It may feel like your partners have become your enemy. You've probably been divorced. Well, you're very young. I don't know if you've been divorced yet. But when I see the 7th house ruler in the 6th house, I often think divorces, unfortunately. I'm not trying to be rude or mean. It's just what I often see. So, but I bet animals love you. Are you a little Ace Ventura or Dr. Dolittle? Okay, I'm back. Turns out an issue with iOS, perhaps, and unfortunately I only have iOS. Oh, sweetheart, thank you. And please, everyone, like the fucking stream. Subscribe to my channel. Get your friends to subscribe. Right? Tell them I do the best goddamn readings because I do, and it's science. And at least I'm an interesting person. I was watching one of my favorite astrologers this morning, Adam Ellenboss, who I love. I've taken his classes. He's wonderful, but he's also boring. Compared to me. I love him though. He's amazing. Just like Chris Brennan is a genius. He's also fucking boring. And I'm a little bit of a genius and I'm also interesting. And I'm very humble. I'm very, very humble. So the thing about the North Node in the first house though, sweetheart, is as you get older, your end of your 30s approaching 40, you're going to notice. Apparently, that's what Reddit said anyway. I don't know shit about Reddit, So this is a life where you're learning more about independence, you see. When I see Saturn, that's a very happy Saturn in the 2nd house. But Saturn retrograde in the 2nd house typically indicates that you grew up either poor or feeling like there was not enough to go around, right? Like your parents probably said, we don't have money for that, Or you had to share hand-me-downs with your brothers and sisters or whatever. Did you have a brother or sister pass away when you were younger? I don't know. Again, that's an extreme way of, that's an extreme way of reading the 3rd house ruler in the 8th house. But with the sun in the 8th house, you have a natural empathy. You might be sort of a fearful person or have a tendency towards fear or being scared, right? Or being dominated by, or maybe you had a familiarity with death when you were young. You had to encounter death as a child or a young adult. But see, the thing about Sun in the 8th house is it's often like a therapeutic thing. I mean, people might see you as sort of a therapist. They might confide in you because they feel like you're familiar with their trauma. You see? They feel like you're an empathetic influence. And this is pretty cool, you know? Is anyone watching on desktop and able to link her membership subscription or chat for me? I did not. My grandparents and now my mom recently, unfortunately. I'm sorry, baby. Was your dad religious? Was dad a religious person? See, I see Mars ruling the 4th house up there in the 9th house of religion. Mars would represent your father. And also when I see Mars in the 9th house, I think of someone who didn't have a good experience of religion growing up. You know? Well, not everything I say is 100% because I'm not psychic. I'm as psychic as a rock. I'm just reading the astrology, right? I'm just reading. That's what readings are. Your mom was religious? Your mom was religious. Well, look, your moon square Mars. You know, mom probably had a bad temper too, didn't she? But you're very intelligent and you're probably very attracted to intelligent or deep or spiritual people. And with Venus in the 9th house, you have a spiritual bent yourself. If you have children, you'll probably have a child who's either in academia or spirituality or studies abroad or something like that. You see? Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. But the life motif is about learning, right? To be independent. Learning to be independent, right? And to not, not lose yourself in other people, right? 7th house ruler's the moon. We talked about that. Moon in Gemini sort of equivocates, right? They try to be all things to all people, especially when they get scared. They'll tell you exactly what you want to hear just to stop the conversation. 1st house ruler is Saturn in the 2nd house. So you see your material circumstances growing up really had a big effect on you, didn't they? They affected how you see the world and experience yourself. The sense of lack, right? The sense of lack. But as you get older, right, Saturn, who's very happy, makes your financial situation get better, right? Maybe through your own effort. Venus rules your 10th house and is in your 9th. So maybe have something to do with legal issues or academia or spirituality or whatever, or astrology. And before we move on, in terms of timing, Jupiter's in your 6th house, which is all about healing, right? Healing physical issues and also taking responsibility for things, organizing your life. But Mars is going through there right now, which can be frustrating because it's like you're rushing around to get things done. You don't want to burn yourself out because you get sick, right? When Mars is in your 6th house, we tend to like push ourselves too hard and we can get sick, Very important. Anyway, Mercury is going to go back into your 8th house. So you could be getting messages about someone or something passing away. Could be a pet passing away because the 6th house, Mercury rules that. There could be a pet death or something. I don't mean to be negative, I'm sorry. But it could also be about money, It could also be money that you're getting paid back or you pay someone else back. Perhaps that you weren't expecting, right? So that's the other thing that could happen. So it's also about forgiveness, going back and forgiving people for stuff that they did to you. I don't know if that's in the cards for you, but these are often significations here, Venus is about to go into your 9th house, which is great for exploring new meanings. And it's great for reconciling over differences of opinion. But anyway, let's move on because I don't want to get caught up here. So after Alyssa, it's your birthday. See, next week is Alyssa's birthday. Happy birthday, Alyssa. Loki mode. Wait, who was the next one? I think someone else had donated. Just did Alyssa. I did Alyssa. There's Loki Motive. and Kajal or Kajal. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I'm a stupid American. I'm a stupid American who doesn't. Then we have Meg. Meg James. Meg James. Let me see for so I see the okay. So if you click on desktop, there's a little $ icon, and you have super stickers, super chats, and memberships. And for members only perks, we're doing members only lessons um and is it Kajal? Okay, thank you, sweetheart. So Meg wanted to become a member. So that's how you become a member, Meg. And it really supports my shit. It really supports my shit. So thank you, thank you, thank you. But let's go. So before Meg does that, let's go to, who was this? Ugh. Who was this? Who was after? We did Anona. Let me make sure I didn't miss anyone because I'm terrible with my attention span. I'm terrible. Loki Motive. Okay. Loki Motive was next. So Loki Motive, hopefully you're still here. 1969. 69. Right? One of my favorite numbers. 1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. 2 can be as bad as 1. It's the loneliest number since the number 1. Okay. So we got February 25th, 1969. It's the year the 60s ended, isn't it? 1969. 3:48 p.m. Yeah, thank you for doing Date Time City. Please, Date Time City. Date Time City, that's what I need. Date Time City. And then we have Kajal and Meg. Why did I lose my train of thought? I'm so sorry. 3:48 p.m. Camp. I don't know how to pronounce that. Lejeune? Where the fuck did that shit go, yo? Sorry, I don't mean to cuss so much. And then I'm a 90s kid, so I say yo after everything. It's so tedious, I know. Yo. But that's how shit was. And then in high school, it's like, sup, yo? There was even this Usher song, yo, 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 yo. Anyway. Wait, Camp what? Camp Can you spell that again? Is it Lejeune? Is that really a thing? Oh, wait, here we go. Okay. I found it. Okay. Okay, cool. So we have Loki Motive. Let me minimize all these things. Put you to the side. I have to manage my screen. Oh, thank you, Anana. Thank you, baby. Thank you so much. Oh, we got another Gemini moon. A moon in the 11th house. They tend to, it's 4 a.m. Okay, I'll get you. Okay, Meg, I'll get you right after this because you're going to sleep. I'm sorry. I'll get you right after this. Okay? If you're able to stick around for another like 20 minutes, I'll get to you, okay? I mean 20 minutes total. I'm going to spend hopefully only 5 minutes or so on this chart. That's what I'm saying. We have a Leo rising opposite my Aquarius rising, yeah? When I see Aquarius Venus, I think of people who are like really good with systems or technology. You know, oftentimes they know about IT because they understand how systems fit together, or at least how systems are, you know, how parts within a system contribute to the whole, You see? That's really important. They understand how connections relate to the whole thing. Now you're also a Pisces sun in the 8th house. So you have that similar kind of thing to one of the other homies had, where people like to tell you their secrets. But see, you have to be careful because it can overwhelm you as a Pisces after a while. It can be like, whoa, there's only so much of other people's pain and trauma that I can take. Like, please, please, So you have to take care of yourself, and that means having alone time. Now, Gemini moon also has a tendency to intellectualize its emotions, so you need to allow yourself to feel things. Now, your 7th house ruler is Saturn. You have Saturn in the 9th house like me and some other people, right? So it tends to make us reject religion early on. Yeah. We usually reject the religion of our parents. But then, like I said earlier, we go on a quest for meaning for the rest of our lives. And when I see Venus in the 9th house like this, I think of someone who's very interested in relationships with people who are deep or spiritual or astrologers or foreign people, or foreign people. Loki Motive says empathetic as fuck. So you got to watch that because you can't give from an empty cup. Oh, Meg, I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry, Meg. I didn't know it was so late for you. I wish I'd gotten to you earlier. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you, and I'll try and go live again really soon. Okay? Okay, hopefully this weekend. I'll go live this weekend. Okay? I'll go live this weekend on Sunday. And then I'm seeing Bexy on Sunday. So anyway, yeah. You have this undeniable spiritual streak. And as you got older now, because, you were born in 1969. So now you're at this time in your life when you're really becoming an effective person, or at least you should be, because it's in our 50s that we actually become effective people. That's when we actually develop a mind. Because before our 50s, and even before our second Saturn return, we're so governed by emotions. Like, I'm 41 and I'm still a super emotional bitch. But it's the life experience that's able to help us put things in perspective and not fall to pieces over every little thing. Too many days away. I know, Bexy. I can't wait to see you Sunday. Anyway, so the life takes on more of a spiritual direction as you get older, you see. Because when you were younger, you probably rejected a lot of those things. Now, it's your 7th house ruler, not very happy up there, so you probably had a checkered relationship history. But you would be very interested either in foreign type people or deeper spiritual type people, or maybe lawyers, But see, moon in the 11th house can be very popular. People tend to like it, or tend to just, it could be popular, like I said. Just have a natural way to get along with people, So Venus also rules your 10th house. And so life direction has been difficult because she isn't happy either. When I see Venus in Aries, I think of the girls who go into the men's bathroom and use the urinal. It's sort of brash, not very tactful, doesn't really care about social norms or conventions, right? So they sort of step over the lines. Whereas Venus and Libra would be like, no, shh, we don't say that here. And Venus in Aries is like, what? What? What did you say? you know, don't look now, but that person has a really stupid hat. What? Which person? Stupid hat? Like a fucking cackling parrot. Not that, I'm just joking. But it doesn't have that tact, right? But see, the sun rules your 1st house and is in the 8th. That's where that whole being empathetic and a confidant for people is. But it also leads us into fear. So facing our fears is a big theme throughout life. And you're probably very sexual like me too, with Mars in the 5th house. But I bet you had a C-section too, because Mars in the 5th house often means C-sections or becoming estranged from our children sometimes. But it can be more like, more sexual or difficult childbirth. So there's that too. Now, Jupiter's going through your 11th house. So this is going to be a wonderful thing for you in terms of popularity and getting support until next summer, you know? But Mars is going through there right now too. So you could cut people off in the short term. You know, over the next month or so, you might cut some people off. Or you might get a bad reputation with your friends. Or you might get in fights with your friends. That's a typical thing. You know? You love out loud. Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you love out loud. I bet you love out loud. So anyway, I think, wait, where's Bexy's? I think Bexy has Venus in Sagittarius. I think it's Snagimatarius. Bexy's Venus in Sag. Yep, Venus in Sag. In her 7th house. Sag Venus needs to be satisfied. But your Venus is in Aries, and yeah, Fire Venus needs to be satisfied for sure. Anyway, and then Mercury is going back into your 1st house. And this is pretty cool because your mind is about to be focused on money, just like Snoop Dogg, got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Rolling down the street, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice, laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind, right? But it's going back into your 1st house, which could mean messages about yourself, right? Oftentimes it could be medical test results or just test results in general of something you were doing or whatever. Usually it's news about our health, typically. Or if there's been a delay in hearing something about, could be career or progress in some way. But it also has to do with putting your attention back on yourself a little bit. Giving yourself some attention, which is very characteristic of Leo. It might seem self-centered or self-absorbed, but you need to focus on yourself during that time because you left something undone. Maybe you have this nagging thing like, oh God, I should have done that, Something that may have been a confidence boost for you, So when Mercury backtracks into Leo on the 14th, you got to put your attention back on yourself because if you try and give too much of yourself to other people, you'll crash and burn. Doesn't mean you be selfish. It just means you need to take time for yourself. Like I always say for Pisces, you can't give from an empty cup, Yeah. Okay. I'm so sorry, Meg James. I feel bad now. I feel bad now. You see, that's the problem with my Mars Sun shit is I say a lot of nasty, mean things and do things and then I regret it later. Because, like, I impulsively do that shit. And I'm like, ugh, why did I do that? When my daughter and I went to the roller rink, I yelled at this manager. And I'm going to apologize to her next time I see her. Because I felt bad. Oh, and, it was a bad example for my daughter. Amanda Lee, hello, sweetheart. Hello, how are you? Please like the stream, subscribe to my channel. So anyway, last thing I want to mention, Loki, is you have the Saturn conjunct Venus in your chart too, which can be very socially awkward. So even if you are popular, you feel awkward and you probably don't have a lot of confidence, even though people would like you generally, they would like you generally. Anyway, let's move on to the next person. So who was it after Loki? It was gonna be Meg. I feel bad, Meg. I hope Kajal is still here. Is Kajal still here? Kajal. Kajal. Where's Kajal? Excuse me. Is Kajal still here? I don't know what this place is that Kajal was born in. 1996. Wait. Kajal. 19. Caffeine crash. Caffeine crash. I hope I'm hoping I'm getting this correctly. Oh, excuse me. I have to look this up. Okay. I didn't realize where this country was. Suriname. Suriname. The Republic of Suriname is a country in northern South America. I didn't even know. I usually pride myself on being an international girl. I must not be that international. Anyway, here's Kajal's chart. Here's Kajal's chart. Good, here you are. No, thank you, Kajal. I just needed to look it up, so. Because usually I thought I knew every country in South America. I thought I knew just about every country, period. But I hadn't heard of Suriname. Is it by like French Guiana and all that sort of stuff? I don't know. But I'm gonna have to look up more about it later. I just feel bad I didn't know. So for Kajal, we have a Scorpio rising with Mars ruling, and Mars is in the 8th house. When I see the first house ruler in the 8th house, my first thought is self-harm, right? Sort of depression, fear, self-harm, being mean to oneself. You know, what's his face? Why am I not remembering his fucking name? He wrote The Old Man in the Sea. Ugh. What the fuck? I know his name. Ernest Hemingway. Fuck. My brain is like dying. How do I not know that? Or how do I not have that off the top of my head? Where did my chat go? Where did the chat go? Where did the chat go? I lost the chat. Where did I lose the chat to? Where the fuck is the chat? Why does everything have to suck? Where'd the fucking chat go? There we go. Ugh. Took forever to look at it. Hello, Jocelyn. So anyway, yeah, so that's a difficult placement, you know. Yeah, Rona brain fog. Thank you. That's the excuse I'm gonna use. Rona brain fog. How did I forget Ernest Hemingway's name? So you have Mercury in Leo too. So you're having Mercury backtrack into your 10th house, and to where Mercury is natally. When I see Mercury in Leo, I think of bullshitters, you know, people who could sell anything. You know, people who could sell hair dye to Mr. Clean is what I say. I just mentioned Mercury in Leo in my newest video, so you should go back and watch it. Virgo moon is rough, you know. Virgo moon is rough. I mean, it's good, it's lovely, but, you know, it can make us really sort of people pleasers. And people will take advantage of Virgo moons. I think Bexy has a Virgo moon, right? Yeah, Bexy has a Virgo moon. And it's wonderful to have submissive people, but you have to appreciate their submission, you know? Like, if you're going to be a people pleaser, a service-oriented person, only do it for people who appreciate it. Because otherwise, you're going to be giving yourself from a place of emptiness, right? Because people need to fill you up too. If the people in your life aren't filling you up with confidence, right, then you shouldn't be trying to please them all the time. you know. And I'm thinking about Bexy too. You know, if I ever stop appreciating, you know, your wonderful subby nature, then you need to speak up, you know. But I will try and keep that in mind all the time for myself. Because I would like to consider myself a good dommy mommy. Or switchy bitchy. You know. So anyway, your 7th house ruler is Venus in the 8th house, which means you like the bad boys or girls, right? I don't know if you're male or female, but or non-binary or whatever. But you would be interested in partners who are a little dangerous. Yeah, a little dangerous. Like for me, I was interested in bad girls for a long time who would just shatter my heart and my bank account. You know. Um, so I learned better. I learned better. But still, it's a lesson you need to learn probably. Or you may have had a partner pass away at some point. I don't know. But usually it's liking the bad boys or girls. You know? Uh, the bad boys or girls. The dangerous ones. Yeah, see, you know what I'm talking about, girl. Now, you probably had some difficulty with money, or money's difficult, or you're in debt, or you struggle with debt in some way. And you're having your Mars return right now. So please watch spending money. Be careful of spending money because you could go into debt really quickly right now. You have to be very careful to save. And I know most of us can't really afford to save, but that would be important. You see? Be very important. Your sun is in the 9th house, though, in Cancer. Very spiritual type person. You're welcome, Melissa. Thank you for coming. Please, everyone, like the stream and subscribe to my channel. Please. Please, please, please. Anyway, you see, Venus in the 8th house is also about forgiveness and reconciliation. So you might be the type of person that bridges people together or mediates, you know? Difficulty with money. Yeah, you see, that's hard. That's hard. You just have to be careful with it and spend and, you know, be careful with your spending. It's really hard though, I know, because we need to live, right? And with Saturn, oh, with Saturn in the 6th house not happy, I would wonder if like dad was a workaholic or never around or something like that. Or if dad had really bad health issues. And I would wonder if you had chronic health issues as well. You know? That might be a thing. That might be a thing for you. Now, Saturn's going through your 5th house right now. So, when Saturn was going through my 5th house, I'm pretty sure that's when my daughter was born, right? No, when Jupiter was going through my 5th house. What was Saturn going through my 5th house about? Huh. Anyway, but Saturn going through our 5th house can be kind of depressing in a way because it feels like we can't have fun. It can also be kind of chaotic. It feels like we have to just keep putting out small fires all the time, right? Feels like we can't get things done that we need to do. Sometimes it could strain relationships with children, or it could be having to go through pregnancy and stuff like that, you see. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that could happen. But just don't let yourself get too depressed or despondent because this will be over in a year, you know? Maybe you get pregnant. I don't know. Maybe you get pregnant. I'm not putting that on you if you don't want to get pregnant, but just something we sometimes see. Anyway. We talked about Mercury already. Oh, and this is all about career with Mercury. You see Mercury going back into your... We already talked about this with other people. But getting messages from old bosses and shit like that, or getting notified about a job prospect or job application. It's another big thing. But let's move on to the next person. The next person who is after Kajal. Loki Motive says, you are not stupid at all. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Anana, so much. Wait, who is next? I feel bad about Meg. I feel bad about Meg. I feel bad about Meg. Excuse me. I feel bad. Who did we miss? Who did we miss? I could always do Bexy's chart. I could always do Bexy's chart if I got no one else. Who did I miss? And yeah, I do have the Rona brain fog. I'm just worried that it's going to become a normal situation because my brain needs to be quick. Although maybe it's my retrograde Mercury as well. Bexy. Bexy. I was pregnant, but my baby died 2 days after my birth. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. That's a really rough one. That's a really rough one. Let me go back and look at your 5th house after I end up put Bexy's stuff in. Ooh, Bexy, you're so sexy. Did you ever see Empire Records? That movie's too old for you, though. It was a 90s movie that was really big when I was a kid. And they had this fake celebrity named Rex Manning. And everyone said, "Oh, Rexy, you're so sexy." And so I'm like, "Hey, Bexy, you're so sexy." Okay. There's Bexy's chart. But really quickly, the 5th house ruler is Jupiter, and Jupiter's not happy in Capricorn. Jupiter's not happy in Capricorn. I'm so sorry, baby. And that's an extreme way to read it, but you had the extreme thing happen. And I'm so sorry. That's really rough. And then, yeah, watching out for, absolute, oh, thank you. Thank you for being kind to each other in the chat, you see. Thank you for being kind to each other. It's not that old. It's a 90s movie. Or maybe it is that old now. Like the 90s were 30 years away. Weren't they 30 years away now? Yeah, the 90s were 30 years ago now. Holy shit, I feel old. Empire Records. That's another movie I'm gonna have to show you, Bexley. Empire Records. So Bexy's a Gemini rising. You see? And my Sun and my Mars are conjunct her ascendant. Yeah. That's really lovely. And then her Venus in Sag is sextile my ascendant. But where, oh wait, where the fuck is your Venus? Oh, her Venus in Sag is sextile my ascendant in Aquarius. That's right. Strapping. I don't know what that means. Strapping? Strapping? I mean, I'm good at strapping. Strapping something out. Or I enjoy... Never mind. Never mind. Oh, stopping. 30 years ago, it was yesterday. I know, right? Jesus. So, you could see Bexy's got her Mars in Cancer, and Mars isn't very happy there. But Mars is conjunct my Venus, which makes us both very happy. You know? Mars rules the 6th house and the 11th house. And in the 2nd house, right? So there's difficulty with spending money typically, you know? Oftentimes money might be an issue, right? And more from spending money than anything. Because when I see Mars in the 2nd house, it's like money burns a hole in your pocket. You know, but your 2nd house ruler is the moon, and the moon in Virgo in the 4th house. So I wonder if you got money from your parents or from your dad in some way. Maybe inheritance, I don't know. but there would be some sort of monetary recompense probably from your family or generational wealth or genealogy. Your part of fortune's in the second house, which usually indicates some luck with money, but you just have to be careful about spending it, right? So Mars rules the 6th house and the 11th house, like I said. You may get help from friends, like job prospects from friends or supporters, stuff like that. Sometimes there might be a business venture in the future. I don't know. But sometimes we see that with the part of fortune in the 2nd house, and the 11th house ruler in the 2nd house. So interesting stuff. Now, Saturn in the 9th house, like me. So, typically that means that you also rejected the religion of your birth. I also know that you're a spiritual person, in your own right. And that life has sort of been also about finding meaning, Now, Mercury rules your 1st house and is in your 6th. And that can be difficult because it feels like we're always fighting an uphill battle. Now, it can also be quite submissive, which I know you are, which is also characteristic of Virgo moon, But the 1st house ruler in the 6th house, oftentimes has a sense of people pleasing or having to attend to obligations all the time. And one necessary thing, for this is, to learn to value your own direction and your own interests and not just try and buy into other people's all the time, Now your North Node is in the 7th house, so life is learning about relationships, yeah, and how to perfect, although nothing's ever perfect, but how to develop, right, your sense of being in relationships, and that's been a big motivator for you, hasn't it? Loki Motive says, catch you Sunday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, be there or be square. Feed your chickens. Thank you. Yes, feed your chickens. But I'm so glad you were here, Kajal. Make sure to like the stream and subscribe to my channel. Please, please, please. And Bexy has Venus in her 7th house right now, or has Venus in her 7th house as well. See, all these sorts of things indicate learning about relationships. Learning about relationships. Now, Bexy, you may have had chronic health issues. If I see the 1st house ruler in the 6th house, I also think chronic health issues. There's also a tendency to be with Mercury in Scorpio, maybe a bit paranoid, or sometimes thinking people are thinking bad of you when they aren't. And it could be a little suspicious sometimes too. It could be a little stalkerish, social media stalking. I don't know if you do that or not. I don't care because I'm an exhibitionist, but. And then you're a very powerful communicator and you have a very powerful probing mind. And I say that because Mercury conjunct Pluto so closely. And you probably are very intelligent and you're not satisfied with other people's answers for things. When I see Mercury conjunct Pluto like this, I think of research. I think of people who can go very deep into a subject, right? And then you have a 5th house sun like me, right? Very sexual. Very sexual. Excuse me. And then Jupiter in the 5th house. So I don't know. There's a certain sense of optimism there. And artistic. That's what it is. Artistic. And Bexy is a very good artist, aren't you? Aren't you, sweetheart? Now, just in terms of timing, we only talked about a couple of things. Mercury would also represent your father, right? And the father in the 6th house, it can often indicate chronic health issues. Did I already mention that? A father with chronic health issues, or a workaholic, or someone involved in the medical professions, you see? Someone involved in the medical professions. Did I miss anyone else for a reading? Did I miss anyone else? Did I miss anyone else? God, I have such bad ADHD. Ugh. Anyway. Saturn conjunct your midheaven, right? Like career comes slower, Career comes a little bit slower. But Saturn is very happy here. Now, Saturn is going through your 9th house right now, though, by transit. And what does that indicate? Well, it feels like we lose opportunities. Like we don't get the promotion we want. We don't get the job we want. It feels like we don't get the recognition we deserve. It feels like we're put in the background and playing second fiddle. And it can be very frustrating. It can feel like life is just not moving. And it's not the way we expect it to be. But see, there's a great thing behind that. And why is that? Because we're learning to let life put us in a new direction. And this doesn't become obvious to us or apparent to us until Saturn gets into the last 10 degrees or so of the sign that she's in, right? So it won't be till January or so that you start to see all the light at the end of the tunnel with a job situation. When I had this, I didn't get a promotion that I really wanted, but it also diverted my attention into a new field, and I became a systems analyst rather than a restaurant manager, you see? And that's a wonderful change that I made, because then it set me up to quit my job entirely, right? So you're being led in new directions. Life is changing directions, and it will ultimately be a good thing. It's just probably annoying right now. Now, Jupiter's going through your first house right now, which is wonderful for confidence and getting your health back together, focusing on your health, right? And having accomplishments, right? Because Jupiter also rules your 10th house. So you could alternatively see some luck at work between now and next summer, right? And especially increases in confidence and getting better about our health. It could be, exercise, sleep routines, whatever. But Mars is going through there right now, which can be quite frustrating. It could be getting hurt, rushing around too fast, getting cuts and scrapes and burns and scratches. Although, we kind of do that anyway, don't we? Bexy says yes to all so far. My dad passed from his chronic health conditions. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Well, and your seventh house ruler's Jupiter, right, in your fifth house. So you need partners who are super sexual and fun-loving and hilarious, right, and who love children. I have a Gemini kid, so it's like having two. So you need fun-loving partners who are very youthful and sexual, like me, right? You also have Jupiter trine your ascendant. So it's a very kind nature. It's a very kind nature. That's very important. And you are very kind. You're so sweet, you'll give me diabetes. Now, the other thing, like I said, with Mars going through the first house, it can make us more assertive, which is good. And you need that for sure. But we just have to watch getting carried away sometimes, or being too aggressive or impulsive, That's Jupiter and Mars. Mercury going back into your third house. You could get messages from a sibling that you haven't talked to in forever. I mean, that's the classical way to read it, is messages from a sibling, aunt, uncle, or cousin. You get contacted by one of them after August 14th. So that's interesting. And Venus is about to go into your fourth house, which is about decorating your home, or it can be a little bit of reconciliation with parents. But usually it's home decoration, enjoying your own company, right? Trying to make your space beautiful or reflect how you feel on the inside. So it's a lovely little transit for you, Venus in the fourth house. Venus is in the 8th house for me, or about to be. So anyway, lovely little stuff. Lovely little stuff. If no one else wants a reading and no one else is here, we're going to call it a day. And I got to go on to my next bit. So I love you all. Thank you for coming. You're all so sweet and wonderful. Thank you for the people who donated and tipped me. And thank you for our new members today. And to our other members, please. I'm going to do a members only stream very soon. Very, very soon. Okay? I just have to figure out how to do it with Streamlabs so I can show you. Right? So I can show you. You're welcome, Bexy. Bexy is so sexy. Anyway, I love you all. Have a wonderful rest.